Hello, people. Today we will talk
Hello.
with the boss man.
Hello. My name is Lars, and I'm the owner of this fantastic place for a little bit more than 7 years now.
Okay. So what's the place called?
It's called Elektrisk Tatovering.
Okay, so I can't pronounce that, but that's where I'm manager. So we have a conversation about what it's like to own and run the business of tattoos, piercings, and whatnot. Could you tell about your experience, how you get into this madness?
I got into this by coincidence. I invested some money, and the guy who I invested in couldn't really do the job, and then I took over without any experience at all, I would say. I was, of course, a lot into getting tattoos, and I like tattoos, but in the part of knowing what is going on and how you actually do a tattoo and how you manage everything, I would say everything, I didn't have anything.
When I started to work in a shop, I was kind of amazed on that, what's behind all it. So what was for you that big difference from being a customer and just going in, getting tattoos, paying money, going away, from actually being on the other side, and what was different from what you imagined and what it turned out to be?
Yeah, that's really a big difference, because I was like everybody else, just used to going in, have a little chat with the tattooer about what I would like, and I would come by, see the drawing, get the tattoo, pay, walk out. Everybody was happy, and it took me those 2, 3, 4 hours what I could take of tattooing. But after I started the business, I saw that it's more or less a 24-hour job, and there's so much happening behind the scenes that I would say the actual tattooing time is almost not worth mentioning. It's probably a fourth of the time what is going on else.
So what it is to actually run it? What's the tasks? What's the hustle?
The biggest thing is I don't know if it's the biggest thing, but when you start, first you have to find a good location, and by that I doesn't mean where it's proper located. I mean, how is the location? Can you clean it? Do you have what you need and stuff like that? And you need to find good tattooers, which was a big problem for me in the beginning, because I was looking like everybody else and saying, yeah, this is a nice tattoo, this is a nice tattoo. But then I didn't know anything. So I started up, and I changed a lot of tattooers in the beginning, and I had managers to help me out, because I needed to learn these things. I could see a tattoo and think that it was beautiful, but it wasn't really what was going on. So I needed help, and the first couple of years I think I was very humble and trying to learn as much as possible. I also went into the business and thought that this business can be run like any other business, because I had businesses before, and how difficult can it be? The biggest place I worked, I had 53 people under me, and here I only have 5, 6 or whatever. So it couldn't be a problem, but that was a big mistake to think like that.
So what was the other business like related to, and what's the biggest difference in the things?
I worked in Gaza as an export manager. I had 53 people under me. I worked for many years in a restaurant as the kitchen chef, where I had all the staff under me and took care of everything. I had for a couple of years my own advertising department, also with employees, and it's just like you can almost compare them and say they're the same, but when you get into the tattoo business, it's a whole other deal. There's in my objective, there's 2 kinds of tattooers now. there's the old guys who's been hanging around for longer than you and I, and then the last 5-10 years, tattoos got so popular that there's a lot of youngsters coming around, starting up, and I cannot say there's a fight between these two groups, but there's definitely a different meaning about how things.
There's also from those youngsters, I think there's many people who had that old school apprenticeship, and there's the kind who was like, "Fuck it."
Yeah.
Just like, I can draw, I can do it, and they just jump into it.
Exactly.
So I think that's there where like they might be different from each other, but like, what's that difference into running the tattoo shop then? Like, what tattooists are different from the
tattooist is just. It's probably pretty easy because tattooists are artists, and at least if you are working with proper people, and if you work with artists, they need more space. They think different. It's more like what is going on tomorrow. We don't really care about. We take this day, and tomorrow we take tomorrow, and when you learn to understand them, it was really difficult for me. I don't know if I actually do it yet, but if you learn to understand them, you will also see that they are the people who create the most amazing shit. They are living in their own world, but it's amazing.
Also, I think it's like if you would compare it to kitchen.
Oh yeah.
Like you go to restaurant and you expect food to be good, right? And
Yeah.
like here you have to go to the specific guy. Like you have to know, like, oh, today this guy is cooking, so I want this piece, so I have to go to that dude.
Yeah, yeah. That's another thing. There's. I know that there are some tattooers who can do a lot of different stuff, but when you go really specific into styles, you have to choose your tattooer that can do that style. It's not like a mechanic. You can just drive your car in there, and it doesn't really matter which mechanic it is. Or you really have to find the right guy for the right job.
It's a bit more specific.
Oh yeah.
When you started to own a business and all that, so what was those things that struck you? What's going behind the scenes? What was the magic?
I don't know what the magic was, but what I'm really a lot into is the hygiene, and I'm not trying to blame anybody, but I could see that there was a lot of hygiene problems. We also had it in our first shop. I cannot even believe that we actually tattooed there. I'm not proud of that, but we did, and nobody died. But hygiene is really a big thing of the daily work. I mean, there's so many things you have to take care of, not touching each other, not cross-determination and stuff like that. And there's by now not a law that tells you that you have to learn these rules.
Yeah, also I think it sucks because like in Denmark you have no guidelines.
Nothing.
Like you have no rough guidelines. Like in Latvia, where I'm from, in England, there's this set of rules. Like, you know, if you own a shop, the shop should have this, that.
Yeah.
The standard of doing things is this, that. Here, from what I heard from Carlos and everyone just started, and they're like, okay,
yeah,
let's figure things out, that kind of thing.
And we are just humans, and we are not more clever than. Sometimes, if we can take the short run instead of the long cut, we will do it.
I mean, if you are a doctor or something, but then you have better things to do than make tattoos on people.
Oh yeah. So that was probably the biggest thing, and also the biggest investments, because to make a store ready for actually make it possible to have it clean is not that easy.
Yeah, like the supplies part and all that stuff, like it has to be like
also that I of course experienced that first of all, actually to get all the stuff home that you need, it's not for free. You can probably, or I know you can, find cheap stuff from China and stuff like that. And again, there is no rules. But if you want to buy the best of the best and things that you can trust, they are not cheap. You pay for what you get.
I mean, best of the best, it's like even things up to standards. It's like we went to the seminar and dude said that there was some company on internet selling tattoo inks, which was the same company that was manufacturing car inks, and it was nowhere licensed and anything. So it might be just the same pigment in a different bottle.
And that's crazy. And then there's of course the whole setup thing of the station, which takes you 10-15 minutes. If you have to clean everything, set it up, organize it, do it well. And the biggest thing is maybe the idea that I used to bring to the tattooer. I didn't have any idea. I just thought that and of course I experienced that when I come there, the painting is the drawing is finished. But when I see my own tattooers now, of course, there's some drawings more easy than others, and sometimes you just get it right away. But I also see some of the tattooers working on these drawings, redraw them for 4 nights in a row to get the perfect result, who will fit the client, and happily most of the clients does really like the results because it's probably done, but it takes a long time.
So this leads to the next question I have on the list, and that's a common question that people ask when they found out like the price. They're like, "Why it's so expensive?" So what makes tattoos? What makes tattoo price what it is?
Of course, the biggest expense is probably the rent for most of the people, I would say, because not many is located out on the countryside. Then there's, like I said, it's I don't know the exact amount, but if you want to set up a station, it's just not 3 krona or 5 krona. There's a price on setting up a station probably.
Yeah, like just before tattoo starts or piercing starts, just to make sure that you have the place, you have the station, you have it cleaned, you have it covered, you have all the like barriers on, and that's even before machines are loaded and everything, or piercing jewelry out. It costs some money just to start.
Just a simple thing that people maybe don't think about. I didn't think about it, but one thing is to clean the floor, which is pretty simple, with Ajax for 20 krona in Brusen. But if you buy the proper stuff to get it disinfected,
it smells like a spring.
It smells like a spring, yeah. But if you buy the proper stuff and do it so it's actually clean and sterilized, it's definitely not 20 krona per bottles.
Yeah, that's one thing. Also, like often sitting at a desk, I get people like, it's not so common here. Here people just get upset and walk away, but sometimes, like in England, I get people who start to argue like, but it only takes 5 minutes. But then it's like, okay, if it takes only 5 minutes, buy all the inks, buy all the needles, buy yourself machines, and use them 5 minutes. And then, like, if you have to break it down into the thing, it turns out that it costs money. The shop, it costs money. Tattooist, it costs time to learn that skill, and like, there's a reason why it only takes 5 minutes.
And there's of course all the, if you want to, first you have to get started, so you don't need to, but again, we are talking about doing it proper. You need to go to some classes, some seminars, you need to have a hygiene course, you need to learn about cleaning and stuff, and how to set up all these things. You need vaccinations, actually you also need a first aid course, and
at least somebody in a place should know how to deal with things.
But all these stuff you just don't think about. I don't know if you take it for granted, or
I call them things you have to learn, things you don't know.
Things I don't know. Yeah.
Because like you think like, oh, it's all so cool. I have this machine, I have the needle, but then you're like, oh, it's actually like this can happen and that can happen and this is wrong. So you have to learn all those things.
I remember there was a time when after I got the shop, I got paranoid and couldn't be tattooed any other places, because suddenly I knew all this stuff that has to be done and that you can't see, because you can walk into, for example, a floor and see the floor, but you cannot see what is going on here. And you can easily have it's probably common that in the nighttime or in the weekends you have a cleaning lady coming in, and if she haven't been to a course and know about cross determination and stuff like that, she can easily clean the place up and everything will look beautiful. But actually what she done, it would have been better that she didn't come.
Yeah, if you start from the wrong side. Then...
Exactly. And use the same bucket and stuff like that, you are destroying up the place. And you are not even able to see it the next day. You will come in, I will come in, and we will see, oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah, that's also a thing that worries when like somebody just starting, or there's some apprentices and they're like, oh, I wear gloves, and then they go like all over the places.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's the education part. Also, like I think one of the things that makes price up, it's like with piercings and with tattoos, it's like maybe that particular piece for that particular tattoo or piercing costs this much, but you have to be sure that you have everything for everyone.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, okay, I have this one customer, I ordered this one needle, this one ink, one tattoo have 4 inks, other tattoo have 4 different things. One piercing is this size, this type there, other one has like something else somewhere else, and like you have to have that stock, and you have to make sure that it's up to date and it's up to standards and it's all clean and that you have it.
Yeah, exactly. Backstage.
Job.
Yeah. And then of course there is, like in every other businesses, there's the salary. The tattooers get a cut, and from the last cut there is also in this business, even if people think that we are bandits or what do I know, there is still tax and all that to be paid. What surprised me a lot was actually the electricity bill. It's not cheap. There's humongous lights here and a lot of machines all the time. There's an autoclave. It's also very important, and I haven't seen that many autoclaves around. Maybe people use single-use grips, which is...
Yeah, but that also costs money. So
that's also,
one way or another, it costs money.
Puts up the price, yeah.
In that payment part, I think it can be kind of misleading for a customer, because they think like, I got tattooed by that guy and I give this amount of money and that guy is getting all the money and he's the rich fucker.
Yeah.
So like, you know, he gets certain amount, like depends on the place, and like, but there's usually a cut. So it means that like, first of all, it's not that much. Like there's now this kind of new way of running like a crazy business where they employ some tattooists on salary, but from what most of tattooists say, they wouldn't, like good tattooists wouldn't work on a salary unless it's some crazy amount of money, but usually it's not that much. And then that kind of business is usually tries to do what it's called like a pressing, just to push the price down and do all sorts of deals and that stuff. But then I'm pretty sure that you sacrifice on like quality, because they don't care. Like they are pressured with time, they have their salary, and like they have to be really enthusiastic to care just about their artwork. So there's either one way, if they can give like some super cheap prices, they either, I think, cut down on supplies or they cut down on quality.
Or they cut down on something else. But
yeah, like you said, rent may vary from the center of the city to the outside, but supplies, if they're good supplies, they cost more or less the same. Then like the question of why it's so expensive should be other way around.
It should be why somewhere it's so cheap.
Yeah, like there's been there's been a couple articles around from tattooists and from piercers where they like just kind of break down the setup costs, and like it was in one of the touristy places where I worked. I think there was some new shop who started to do piercings for like $9.99.
Yeah,
and then I counted like what it just cost to make piercing. It's like it would be half of it would be just piercing itself,
yeah.
and then second half would be to whom, like how do we split it, like, and then you end up like doing like €2 per piercing or some ridiculous thing like that.
And for that you cannot survive. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody can have a sale, and we also have our flash days.
Yeah, but
And
it's
actually we don't really make.
it's more like advertisement than it is money
Yeah,
making thing.
I think the flash days is more like fun. Everybody is awesomely tired afterwards, but they think they had a crazy, wild, funny day because everybody is in good mood and we are having fun together with the clients, and we don't do the flash days for the money.
Yeah, like it's not like we're losing money on it, but
No,
it's
no,
not
but
the effort is like
the work you put in it
Yeah,
would
yeah,
be
it's-
more clever to make one big tattoo, go home and sleep instead of working 12 hours.
As a shop. So how do we fight those crazy business kind of shops, and what can we do?
I don't think there is any fight. If you want to be a proper shop, continue being a proper shop, you don't take up that fight. You do your job as it's supposed to do, and you take the money that you're supposed to take. In my terms, it's always been that quality costs, and then again, we agreed that it wasn't actually that expensive. Sometimes people also compare prices to a price they have heard from a friend, and we have to remember in Denmark 50% of the tattoos are done by home tattooers, 30% of the tattoos are done in Sunny Beach or Alanya. So it's only 20% of the tattoos who's actually done in Denmark in a shop. So the price range is of course humongous. At least I don't want to fight over the prices. I want to go to sleep every night and know that my people are happy because they are getting paid. I want to know that the tax is paid, so nothing is coming from behind, and I want happy customers.
Yeah, I always say like if you wanna fight cheap shops with their way, like reducing prices, you will like it's fighting fire with fire. Like I think the main thing is to educate people.
Oh yeah.
Like we're always trying to put up like these. We either give price per piece or like it's because we have different artists working in different styles. So like one guy can do like in his style this tattoo in like 2 hours. Another guy is doing super detailed stuff and it will take twice as long. But then we give price per piece.
Yeah.
And then there's these advertisement traps like all day, like this amount of money, and it's like people look at them and then like, why it's only half day in your place, but we say this is time of actual tattooing. It's not like when you come in, then you start to talk, then you start
already get the needle for 8 hours. Not many people can take that anyway, so
yeah, that could be complicated. That would be painful.
But then again, I mean, you're actually absolutely right, because if you start the fight, then if we start a fight, then we also have to cut down on something which probably will be the quality. And there will only be one loser, which is the customers. So that fight shouldn't go on, because
there's also that saying like all these tattoo pages that's like good tattoos are not cheap and the cheap tattoos are not good. So this is I think where we kind of break it down why it's like that.
There might be a reason why that saying is there.
There's different kinds of customers, and like some people just want to get their simple tattoo done, and like most of the tattooers will probably do it, but like for people who's looking like for specific stuff, specific style, they really should look more into it and not just go for the like cheapest or the best offer. Like maybe there's that it's good, but there's always like thing of checking, double checking, asking for portfolios, because you know some place will have one guy who worked there 3 years ago and they will post the same amazing work, like, oh, look what we can do. And there's long time there's some other dude who's like, maybe...
We just have to recognize that there is a lot of cheating in our business, probably more than a lot of other places, but or they are just more obvious because we know them, I don't know, but they are there. And I really think, now that we talked about this, that the education stuff, that the people should look into it. And it's not because I want everybody's money and I want a high price, but they should think that it's actually their body they are working on, and the body is in the end their health. So you just don't go to a mechanic and tell him to do something, or that you can do, but you cannot go to a tattooer, because what they do to you cannot be fixed. Maybe it can.
Yeah,
maybe it can.
Sometimes it can.
But you could almost be playing with your life. I know that nobody died yet, but
well,
there's definitely...
Somebody died, but that's a different subject.
But there is definitely, and we all know that, there is infections around, there is MRS and stuff like that around, and...
also just the quality of work, because like if you have something that can be only blacked out or you scarred up and it's all raised, then it's way more complicated to fix it.
And it's more difficult now because the tattoos are so beloved and so many want them, that there's also more tattooers. So, and as we don't require education, there will always be easy money and stuff to make. So for the clients, they cannot count on. They can also not count on the mechanic be doing a proper job. But suddenly there is rules, and they have the chance to get the money back, going to court and stuff like that. You cannot even do that with a tattooer.
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, like you compare the tattooist to like if you go to mechanic, the car will break, and tattoo if it's messed up, it can be fixed. Well, unless mechanic messes up with your brakes and you die. But
yeah.
Also like I don't know if it's a thing now, but I remember there was a time with plastic surgeons that there was a lot of home practitioners, and there was like some chicks with like cement injected in their ass cheeks and stuff like that. And like I always say, if tattooist is tattooing at home, it doesn't mean he's a bad tattooist, because it can be good tattooist from a good shop who happens to make a tattoo at home. But there's also a lot of those people without any like education, without any understanding.
Yeah.
That's where damage can happen.
And I think nowadays people from Denmark look more about the quality for... Now we were talking about the
nipples,
wobbly stuff.
Nipples pointing different directions.
Yeah, so they're looking for quality there, and they know that they have to pay for it. But what we don't need in the tattoo business is somebody to die or a lot of accidents or something before you realize that, oh, this is... because we have to remember that a lot of the stuff that we are doing, the results are not... Even the result of the tattoo is not really being seen before 2-3 years, when it's completely healed and settled. And if there is problems with the colors and with stuff like that, you can also get an infection that you don't see before 3-4 years.
Or even the blown out things that's like it healed, it looks nice for first 2 years, and then like you can't read it.
Exactly.
But that comes with experience of actual tattooing. But like I think that infection thing is not so scary for people because it's not that common. You don't see like that much infected tattoos, but I think when it happens, then you're proper fucked. Like it's not like, oh,
no,
what to do. Then it's like it messes with your tattoo, with your health, and many things. So in conclusion, why it's so expensive, you sometimes have to be suspicious and be like, why this is so cheap, you know?
Yeah. Is there a catch? There might be.
Yeah. Like, you know, when you buy a car, you're like, okay, this is the cheapest one, so it probably won't have a radio. It will have like
A cassette.
basic seat. No, there's probably will be a shelf.
Ah. Yeah. Where you
That
can
kind
store
of
stuff. Yeah.
Because there's a reason why things cost what they cost.
There mainly is, yeah. And also in this business, it's not that. Yeah, I know I started out by saying it's a lot difference, but when it comes to that, there's no difference here that from other places. If you want proper work, you have to pay for it, and
there's a reason for that. It's not just because it's like
there's a reason for it. It's just not a price we tell people just to make loads of money. It's a fair price. It's only because they are compared to something who is wrong. Also, don't compare a new Jaguar to an old Fiat. Not price-wise. Also not driving-wise, probably.
I mean, there are some like
cheap Jaguars.
Like high-end tattooists, but there's also a reason why they're so expensive. They work their way up. Their style is exclusive or unique, or they booked up. So there's always a reason.